In 30 seconds, tell me who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Who I am, David Adderson, work for a company called Youtopia Solutions. I set it up with my business partner, Catherine Robertson. What do we do? We are a outsourced finance department, CFO style, which is what most accountants will tell you, but we are doing it. And who do we serve? That's on the spot. Who do we serve? Clients with a forward-thinking mindset that are looking to grow.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So mainly, I always say with your firm, it's kind of like compliance is just kind of done. You help firms more as like a business coach.
Yeah.
And help them understand what are the things, the barriers, the hurdles that might prevent them from taking that next step. You're kind of there to be like, look, this is how you're going to get there.
Yeah. We see ourselves as almost a right hand. I'm going to say man, but don't quote me on that. Right hand person.
Right hand person.
We are the right hand person. Don't tell Catherine I said that. So we are there every step of the way with them. If they've got any questions, anything that goes wrong, anything they want to know, and we also want to make sure they understand everything they're looking at. So all of our clients, touch wood, will know how a P&L looks, what they're looking at, and they'll understand what they're looking at.
Yeah. Okay. That's really important. And before the podcast, we were talking about, some people kind of come in at a level of accountancy and they tend to sometimes stay there. And if obviously you want to help people more, there is essentially an upsell. And by doing that, there's loads of different ways, but you have quite an interesting experience on that, haven't you?
Yeah, so we've tried to upsell using like dashboards and giving kind of entry level management accounts, but clients don't open it, they don't look at it, they're not interested. So we kind of go back to the drawing board and we're trying to make everything an experience. And it almost comes down to basic customer service. Follow it up with a phone call, follow it up with a video call, actually hold them accountable to looking at it or doing something with it, and spark their interest if we can.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because I know there's a lot of people out there that would be like, if you want your clients to buy your services, send them out these reports, send them out these things, and then kind of like harvest what's bloomed. But that's not, in practice, that doesn't really work. It has to be part of that experience.
Yeah, everything we do is looking at experience. It's kind of, at the end of the day, what do the clients actually want? Do they care if they're on Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, Free Agent? I don't even know whichever ones you're going to mention, but do they want that? No.
Yeah.
All they want is to understand what their numbers are telling them. They want the data behind it. They don't care about all the software that comes and that's tools. They just want to know what profit they're making, how they can improve, what changes they can make, where they can cut costs, where they can increase sales. And it's more of that coaching side of it rather than just giving them basic numbers.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, because there's that, it doesn't really matter for the client whether they're on Xero, QuickBooks, whoever, Free Agent. Shout out to Free Agent, Toby Stevenson. It doesn't really matter for the client's perspective, because it doesn't matter if they click OK in Xero to reconcile or OK in QuickBooks or Sage. That doesn't matter. It matters, like you said, there is actually, okay, I clicked OK. That's telling me these things are happening in my business. And then you're going, these things are happening, converting it into plain English and going, this is what needs to happen. I guess the other side, obviously, it's like for you as an accountant, you kind of almost need one general ledger, like a Xero, Sage, or QuickBooks. So your internal processes are fine. I think maybe, do you find this that sometimes it's like clients must have this, or like be so engaged with their software, because as an accountant, you're like, this is actually what helps our business be more efficient. Do you find that breed across?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of go Xero only. We push HubDoc at the moment. But essentially we have our kind of set things, but everybody in the office can work it all inside out.
Yeah.
And I have clients phone me whilst I'm out and about, and I'll be able to tell them exactly where to go, what buttons to click, and I'll be able to talk through screen by screen, not even looking at the screen. Whereas if we had multiple softwares, there is no way I'd be able to do that.
Yeah. I guess there is like, that's it's great from a customer service standpoint, and you can do that. But really, like, the value is them sorting out that issue, so they could maybe pull an age debtor report and actually find out who hasn't paid them.
Exactly that. It's giving them. It comes back to they get the information that they need and they want, and often they don't even know what they need or want. But talking through them and understanding what the end goal is, we can then work forwards.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we've probably got some accounts here sat right now that have got clients that are on lower fees, and they want to do well. They want to serve them more. Have you got any examples of where somebody's come in at a smaller fee and you've got them up to a higher fee? They've grown as business, and like how you did that and the process you took?
I guess not smoothly. We've had clients come in and outgrow us. So they come in, they wanted this level of service. They keep coming back with, we need this, we need that.
Yeah.
And as they've kind of grown, we've said, and also I'll say I'm quite accountant-like. I'm not very good at saying, okay, we'll charge you this for this, we'll charge you a bit more for that. Basically, what's happened is it gets tougher, and then we've said to them, or they've said to us, actually, what more can you do? And they've actually come to us and said, what's the next level? What can I pay for now for you to do extra X, Y, and Z? So that's what we've done. And then they've grown and grown and grown, and we've done more and more and more. And every time we've added the bolt-ons, we've kind of said that's the extra cost for that. And then I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we've had 3 successful clients leave because they've outgrown us and they've actually put together a finance department. So they've replaced us with roughly 3 to 4 members of staff.
And I guess it's one of those, isn't it? Like, a company gets to a certain size and they're going to probably need that, which is, I guess, both gut wrenching because you've lost, like, the client is no longer working with you because you haven't lost them, they're just not working with you anymore because they need their own staff.
Yeah, especially when they tend to be a bigger client paying the higher fees.
Yeah.
But we know, or we accept that we are not specialists at bigger companies at the moment. One day we might be, but at the moment that doesn't fit with what we're doing.
Let's talk about when you start the business. And I really want to talk about, as you know, my thing is lead generation, getting people in. How did you do that? Because you obviously started from zero.
Yeah.
And now you've got to where you are. What sort of things did you do? What do you find keeps working? What sort of things failed miserably that you've learned from? That's what I want to dig into now.
Okay, so what didn't we do? Both Catherine and I went networking. We signed up to every single opportunity we could. Actually, I walked into my first networking room, didn't talk to anyone, felt really awkward, pretended to be on the phone, walked out.
On the weather app, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was horrendous. Felt awkward, didn't enjoy it, hated it. Stuck with it. I'd say I'm better at networking now, but I'm not sure that's where we're getting our leads from or where we're moving forwards. We did quite a lot of different things. We paid for a social media company to do all our social media for 6 months. I mean, they were posting 3 posts a day and my mum and dad were liking them. We had 100 followers and it just wasn't worth doing.
Yeah.
However, they were happy to take our money for 6 months and it cost us a fortune. But we were too small then. We had no following. We didn't have much going on. Then we've had somebody come in to do business development and that's been tough. I'm not sure they were the right person or the role was quite right. And also we were at an early stage and we didn't give much guidance either. So we didn't have much traction to go on. I went for job interviews. I looked down job sites, people who are looking for bookkeepers, and I applied for them and said, we can do it. That was successful. It got a couple of clients at the beginning. I think I got 3 clients out of that, which was interesting. Referrals, every accountant will tell you it's the only thing that works, but it is really successful. If you are on top of your clients, we actively ask them to do referrals as well. So every now and again, I'll send them an email saying, do you know anyone else? And just prompting it makes such a difference. We have been working with a few business coaches, which have worked extremely well for referrals. And we've also worked with a couple of investors now, which again are huge for the referrals. So I'd say referrals seems to be the best way. However, we are trying to do quite a number of other things. We're also doing a podcast, built a podcast.
Your own podcast.
Yeah, sorry to plug that.
There's a plug right there.
Yeah. If you want to see it, it's in the link. We did a podcast, but actually, what was that? That was just directly approaching potential clients and saying, let's have a 1 hour chat through your business, all the problems you've had, and let's see if we can help solve any. And that's worked really well. That's got some great conversations, and I've learned a huge amount from that from a business point of view.
Okay, yeah. So rather than people coming on the podcast and the podcast then going out and necessarily attracting lots of people in, you're actually getting people on the podcast, and from there your conversations have then gone on to actually, we can probably help you with some of your problems, and then they become a client.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's happened a couple of times. We've done a lot of our episodes were with current clients to start with, and then we started to kind of push it out to potentials as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, because obviously you're quite forward thinking in your approach to stuff. Like, you've had your business development, you've had your social media side, and if you look at firms that are at scale or in the top 100, they all have marketing departments, sales departments, and stuff. But somebody slightly smaller in terms of the staff that you have, I guess a lot of the emphasis is on you, maybe Catherine.
Yeah.
How do you juggle that?
Badly. Everything comes to me, essentially. I think Catherine she tries to avoid the marketing side of it. So I built the website, I put together all of the marketing material. We did have somebody who put together the logo, which I absolutely love. So I can't complain there. But the majority of things have been done by us internally, and it's having ideas or random moments of idiocy, buying concrete cows, something like that. But yeah, it's tough doing that as well as doing all the work at the same time. But unfortunately, it's part of being a business owner and having to grow a business. You have to find the time to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the biggest thing, is trying to find the time to do it, because you could potentially hire somebody to come in and do it, but you've got probably 6 month run up until you see any form of return on investment. So you've then got to be like, okay, I've got to juggle having somebody in that we've now got to pay for a full-time head that doesn't really immediately impact the capacity of work that you have, because you might you could be right, we're closed books for the amount of clients we have in right now. We've got these referrals that are sat here. If you hire a trainee account, another account, they can take on that work, you can take those fees. So with this unit over here, you're not going to see that till a lot longer down the line.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and also they're creating me more work.
Yeah.
So if they do really well and they get a load of potential client meetings, I'm then taking them potential client meetings unless we can train them to do it. But that means then I'm sat there doing the meetings with potential clients, which is great. I'm not complaining at that, but also trying to do the current work at the same time. So I think we've taken the last 12 months going through a big process of trying to streamline it and to try and free up the time to do that. So I think we're kind of evolving from the startup stage. Maybe we're going up to the next stage now, where we need to kind of give more to the team, delegate more, accept it, push away, and then focus more on growing the business again. I think, and that's been an extremely tough process to change our mindsets and the way we're doing it. And also, it's what we always wanted to do. If I'm honest, I don't want to do accounts. I don't enjoy doing all of the basic. I'm not going to say basic, all of the kind of entry level work, like that's, dare I say, AI is capable of doing, or other members of the team. And that's where we are now. So we're kind of training up the other members, we're getting them to a point, and then we will hopefully be able to go again in the next few months.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, in going back to the lead generation, so you've tried different elements of having like a business developer come in. You've tried at earlier stage like social media. Obviously referrals have worked wonderfully for you. You've had the podcast. You touched on networking. That kind of wasn't really for you at first.
Yeah. So we've done loads of different networking groups. Actually, I don't think they're the right fit for us. The people that are at networking groups tend to be, or the groups we've been going to, maybe that's more of it.
Okay, yeah.
The groups we've been going to tend to be one-man bands. They are looking for friends, looking for something to do in and looking for someone to talk to. Because running a business is extremely lonely. It's tough. You have no one to talk to unless you've got a business partner, which I luckily do. So that's what they do at some of these events that I've been going to. Actually, what I think we need to find maybe some bigger events. Problem is that comes with more cost, and maybe that's going to find the right people. But actually, Catherine and I have mentioned we want to just do something we enjoy.
Yeah.
So she quite enjoys cars and all of that side of it. That's not me at all. But with Silverstone around the corner or something like that, we could potentially look at doing something with, I don't know, the F1 or that side of it, which would probably attract bigger businesses.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's understanding kind of taking something you love or you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because then you probably give it more maybe time and attention.
Would you enjoy it?
Yeah.
You'll go because you're doing it for that side of it, not to get business. If you get business, it's a plus. But ironically, when you're happier doing whatever you're doing, the business will come and it will follow through.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. And it's people can see that, like if you're trying to write a blog, or write something out and it's the bane of your life, that's going to come through in that element. I think what you've done really well is you've understood that actually there are certain things like networking that aren't for you, don't enjoy it, but also your clients that you're going after aren't there. So you're like, okay, everyone else might be going there, but that's not for us.
Yeah.
So we're going to focus our attention elsewhere. What like kind of training, all that training, coaching, etc. have you done in and around lead generation and sales?
As in training I've had?
Yeah.
None.
None. So it's all kind of like self-taught, self-learned.
Yeah. So my mum and dad were both self-employed and both grafted a lot. I've always been really interested in it. I think I've been to like loads of days. I've done no real formal training, but I've done like online courses and stuff like that in a day, or the Google workshops that come out, and just a lot of trial and error. I think the biggest thing is try it. Does it work? No. Go again. What does work? And that's what we've continuously done. And it's finding people who can help you do whatever it is that you're doing. Like we found an incredible guy that helped us with an exhibition stand. And once we went, it was really kind of basic things, like if you're sat behind a desk and you've got a roller banner, no one can see the bottom half of that roller banner.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you need to do is at the top. Well, we didn't even think about that. We just assumed that you could use the whole space. So the original roller banners we had all of the text at the bottom.
Yeah.
Completely useless. So it was just engaging with the right people and just learning from people. I mean, I'm lucky enough that we talk to 72 businesses on a monthly basis. Ask them what they're doing. Ask them what works. Ask them how they're finding everything at the moment, and learning from them is incredible.
that's the way to do it. Like learning from them and adapting it for what works for you and your clients. Well, mainly your clients and you, because I like going to your event thing. A lot of people might not know. So my mum had a bridal shop. She would go to lots of exhibitions like the Milton Keynes one, NEC, NI, like all these big, and from probably the age of like 8 until about 18 years old, I'd go to pretty much all of them. And when I've then helped other like firms and companies design their expos, the one thing I always say to people is your stand has to invite somebody in. If you have a barrier, if you're something at the edge of your stand, it's a barrier.
Yep.
As where if you have everything kind of centralized and your people on the outside, when somebody walks past you, you can take a step back. You've instantly invited them into your space, and then you can be like, okay, why don't we come over here? All of a sudden, there's no barrier. It's easy to step on. You can engage. I learned that from my mum at about the age of 12.
Yeah.
And that's lived with me. And she had this whole, I put everything at the back of it. Like a lot of the stands, for anyone that's ever been to a bridal fair, a lot of the stands are kind of like this L shape with like a back wall. She'd always put something at the back wall in the corner so that people would have to come into the stand, but there's no barrier ever.
Yeah.
And if you see, you'll notice it, if you're at an exhibition or like anyway, you'll see that a lot of people that have their desk, they stand behind the desk, and then there's that barrier. It's where if we stand like this and I take a step back, you'll naturally probably follow me, and then you're in my space rather than me entering your space. And that, 12 years old, I learned that, and that's lived with me for what, like 18, 19 years now.
And that's huge, but there's so many people who you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't think, I just assumed, that's what people do. Just follow suit, try and do it as well as I can, as cheaply as I can. And as I say, finding that person, a guy called Steve Lloyd, he was incredible. He basically just sat here for half an hour and said, scrap what you're doing.
Yeah, this is how you should do it. So what, obviously, we've got all these things we've spoken about right now and over the next couple of years. What's going to be your focus for lead generation? Where are you trying to invest your time?
So at the moment, I'm trying to tidy up the website. We're trying to, again, we've fallen into a similar trap or I don't know if it is a trap. We look like other accountants. On our website, it says accounts, bookkeeping, payroll, management accounts. We don't want to show that. We don't want to look like that. We want to kind of strip that back. So we're kind of rebranding all our website to show more of a finance department, a CFO, that side of things, some sort of technology side of it as well. Still haven't nailed that down, so I'll come back to you on that one. But it's trying to show actually who we are and what we do properly. So lead gen, I think, is looking like targeting the businesses that we want. If we're charging good fees, which hopefully everyone is doing, then it's worth a couple of hours per potential client to get them in. Because if they're going to stay with you 10 years, paying an annual monthly subscription, that's well worth it. So that's the view of it at the moment, and it's almost hand picking the ones that we want to work with. To be fair, actually, the coaching fractional staff and investors, them three seem to be working extremely well at the moment.
As in those type of clients?
So those people, so I've got a fractional COO, operational officer, who's gone into a business, picked it apart, said, we need to change this, 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 and this. Finances need changing as well.
Yeah.
She phoned me up and said, I've seen you before, let's do it. She's then a year down the line, left there, gone somewhere else, phoned me up, same thing.
Okay, yeah.
And then so whilst she was there, she was working for CFO who saw we came in and did all of that stuff. He was like, he's moved on. He's now emailed me saying, can you do that in this new company? And then again, business coaches are asking for accounts, payroll, they're asking for the numbers in certain details and in certain ways. And I think a lot of people struggle with accountants because accountants look at the past. They take from, last month's management accounts, last year's accounts, the data from the past.
Yeah.
we can't change the past. The past has happened. We can change the future. That's where we need to be looking. And we've been trying with a lot of the software actually. How can we talk about the future more, because it's really hard to show. But the business coaches have really appreciated us looking at the future. And so when they've got 3 or 4 clients that they're working with and their accountants are just churning out basic reports looking at last year, 3 months old, or whatever it is that they're being able to produce, and we're saying we want the future, they're just saying, right, here's a couple more clients, and that's working extremely well as well.
That's cool. And I guess it's kind of, maybe I've incorrectly summarized this, but it's like when you're looking in the past, it's like you're looking at what you're going to have to pay, as well when you're looking at the future, it's like what you're going to earn.
Yeah, and what can we, we are here.
Yeah.
What's happened has happened. There is nothing we can do about it. You've earned what you've earned, as you said.
Yeah.
Whereas in the future, you've got potential. You can change it. You can do whatever you want. If we get the sales up to here, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And we can really drive forwards, and that's what it is. It's giving them the motivation, the drive, the future.
Yeah. An emphasis on their utopia.
Putting them in their utopia.
Yeah.
Strange.
And it's an interesting, is it? Because like a lot of people might come to you and they'll say, we currently, they've got turnover of like 50 grand, for example, and they want to double that to 100 grand. And they're thinking, okay, well, I've done this amount of sales, so I just need to double that amount of sales. Well, actually, we'll know that's not the case. But you could turn around and you say, rather than necessarily doubling your sales, if you increased these 2 things here by this amount, you could actually get there at not double, but maybe an extra quarter. And that's the bit that will encourage them.
Interestingly, I've got 2 stories on that. One, a client came in, a client emailed me and said, right, we're going to sell in 3 years' time for 5 million. Brilliant.
Great.
We're currently turning over or valued at 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we need to double each year to achieve that. Is that possible? No, absolutely not. Okay, so how do we get there? Well, it's just not possible. So like going through the budgeting process with them and learning that and teaching them that, they almost came back to me and said, we're way out, we're not achieving that. However, if we are going along this trajectory, then if we're cutting costs and making more in profit, do we want to sell? And they've taken a full 360 or full 180 and decided they're not going to sell, they're going to keep it going as it is.
Okay, that's cool.
Internally, we set our growth targets. We practice what we preach. We do our own budgeting day here. Mm-hmm. We set growth targets this year to hit a certain revenue figure. We're miles off it. However, our net profit is hitting that same target. Is that a difference? Is that a problem? Like, yes, absolutely. We all love revenue. We'd all love revenue to increase. But if the net profit has increased to what we wanted it to hit, and the revenue, so we're not as busy, we're not doing all of the extra work, but we've actually managed to cut our costs. I mean, it does show that we were spending an awful lot of money on things that we clearly didn't need.
Yeah.
But we've managed to improve our processes internally to the point where we've hit that target we wanted to hit by not increasing revenue.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting one as well.
It's a pretty great case study to go with other people, saying this is what's happened with us. We can maybe help you understand that. And people are going to connect with that, especially that authenticity. So the last thing is, obviously there's a lot of firms out there. They've been posting on LinkedIn loads of times, and all they're getting is accountants and new friends. They're not getting the people they want to speak to. There's people that have written a blog, no one's read it. All these kinds of things. What, from your experience and your perspective, what's the one thing somebody could do right now or today that's going to move the needle for their lead gen the most?
Engage with someone who knows what they're doing. The one thing they could do, I mean, you're posting on LinkedIn. Who's on LinkedIn? Professional services. So unless your target market is professional services, is that the right platform to be pushing? It would be to directly look at who you want and directly approach them.
Yeah. So be direct, right? Understand who the person is.
Yeah.
Where they hang out. Is it LinkedIn? Is it the skate park? Who knows? Find that out, and then go ask them.
Go meet them. Go to the skate park.
Go to the skate park.
Yeah. Take your skateboard. Don't do anything silly. I took a chunk out of my chin on a skate park, but yeah, don't do that. Don't try and do the half pipe. But yeah, find wherever they are and introduce yourself.
There you go. That's it. Thank you for watching this podcast. If you'd like to connect with David, all the links and stuff will be below in the video. Appreciate your time. David, appreciate your time. Thanks so much.